right, welcome to today's episode of Tomorrow's Leader, where we dive deep on all things leader related to leading yourself, of course, and leading other people. I've got a good friend of mine who I've known from college days. We actually have reconnected recently, and I got a chance to hear his story, and it's a fascinating story. So I am really excited about today's guest. He runs a company that does mindfulness and yoga for schools in the New York City metro area. That's what he's doing today, and we're going to get into his journey. So Trevor Vaughan, welcome to the show.
John, thank you for having me. I'm really enjoying reconnecting. I mean, when I saw your stuff coming out, I mean, it's, our ideals just seem to be very unified, and I've just gotten a lot of value out of what you've been bringing lately. So it's a real pleasure and a real honor for you to have me on. So I appreciate that.
Thanks, buddy. I'm looking forward to you adding value to our listeners today. So you and I, again, had a great conversation the other week, and I was just like blown away by what you've done and accomplished, and your story I thought was just really fascinating. So, why don't we just start there? I mean, I'd love to have you tell the tale and the story of, we go back to college days. We lost track of each other, I think, after college, but take us back to, after college, what you were doing at that point.
So John, when we knew each other, I was just an engineering student at Rutgers University, minding my own business sort of, but I start getting into into my engineering career, and I decided I don't really like it. But one of our friends, a common friend of ours, he owned a company that was on the commodities exchange, and he invited me to work down there for the summer. So I went down, and the first day I went down there, I was in love. It was like the trading pits, the noise, the action. And if you want to know the truth, I never went back to Rutgers. Like, I only graduated only a couple of years ago. So I was just so intoxicated by just by the numbers, the action. I was a relatively poor kid from Queens, so it was not the money, and also I was very good with numbers and stuff.
The trading floor and everything. It
was intoxicating. If you ever seen Trading Places, that was the exact trading. Like, we were right next to the frozen concentrated orange juice. I was in natural gas. So, all that stuff, most of that stuff really happens, Yeah. And so things were good. I mean, I liked it, and I was pretty good at it. I had some talent with numbers. I was able to identify value for my customers. And so I never went back to Rutgers. And things looked good for a while. And I was having a good time. I was I was elevating my career, and things were fun, but I have a history. Like, I was a guy who liked to go out. I like to party. I like to entertain. Now, that quality, the yin yang of the whole situation was I was young, and they loved to take me out with customers. I love to go out with customers, but, I got hooked, needless to say. Mm-hmm. And, the more the better I did, the more my habits went up, so to say. I was fond of drinking and some of the other stuff that goes on down there. And for a while, it was fine. And I didn't really notice. And people told me that I was great because I was able to produce for my companies. And, when I was younger, I was really involved in service. And I started getting away from that. And I started believing, I'm a big believer of, you are the 5 people you hang out with the most.
I agree 100%.
And so these people, it's like the monkeys in the barrel. I started following the monkeys in the barrel. And so we got to a point where, I was like 28 years old, and I was doing very well, and I was making a lot of money. My habits were going on, like the drinking and all that hadn't really affected my career yet, but it was starting to, like, the hangovers and all that started to really, become more and more. And so one day I had my best day. It's still today was the day I made the most money in one day. And I was with my boss, who was killing it. He was my idol at the time. And so afterwards, we're going to a Pearl Jam concert on Long Island at Jones Beach. And, we just made basically 6 figures that day. For individuals, not a bad day. And
well, that's a great year for most people.
Yeah, we're driving.
So this was some big money. This was one check. It's a bonus check.
Yeah, no, this is just a day's commission.
Wow.
So we got paid twice a year. So imagine a bunch of those stocked up together. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm driving out with my friend, and he, I'm like, I'm going to keep his name out of it, but we have the life. This is it. This is everything that we've worked for. This is, it can't get any better than this. Sunday night, we're going to go see a show. We made a boatload of money today. And he turns to me and he goes, what are you talking about? Like, my wife uses me like a cash machine. My kids are not appreciative. I have friends with helicopters. I have friends that own companies. And I was sitting there, and this is a person who I idolize. And I was like, and then it dawned on me. I had one of those like breakthroughs, and I saw that like it was never going to be enough, because I was never going to be satisfied.
Right.
And then of course I knew at the time that I had these other issues that were only compounding. So then from then on, I always had this pit in my stomach, and things kind of changed there for me. And I always kind of knew then, like, the truth was revealed to me, like that this was never going to satisfy me. So I went another 10 years. A lot of people
Stayed in it for another 10 years after that. That was your wake up moment, but you still kept on there.
Oh yeah. Well, I was hooked with the other stuff.
Yeah.
And, so for a while it was up, up, up. 2008 comes along, all of a sudden things start becoming computerized. I was a quant, like as, my mind was a quant. I was good with the numbers. Mm-hmm. Well, when you have computer's a better quant than a person. So like my value started going down a little bit. My performance started getting, and my quality of life was just getting terrible. So anyway, I was suffering. And to a point where 2013, right around this time last week, one day I woke up in the ICU. And I woke up in the ICU, and I'm like, uh-oh, we're not in Kansas anymore. And, I woke up, I was in a coma for 3 days, and I was told that I had an organ failure, that I blew out my liver, my pancreas, and all that. And my parents were there, and they live in Ireland. So when I see them, I know it wasn't Thanksgiving. It was just like I knew something was up. And
you don't remember anything about it up until waking up in the ICU?
No.
And no symptoms before then, nothing?
No, actually, over the last, I've actually been in good physical health, but the last 6 months before that, I had lost about 40 pounds. Oh. Like, it really started to but, my denial.
Intentionally or unintentionally? You just started.
Oh, no, my body started giving signs of shutdown.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I go to the hospital. I have a clarifying moment. I'm done with this. Go to rehab, all that kind of stuff. And, I haven't drank or done anything since. So I'm 7 years sober last week.
Congrats. That's huge. A big deal. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I get out of rehab, and I go back to work, and, I'm like, I had to take my Series 7 at the time. So I'm studying for that, and I'm just not feeling as much anymore. And, I say to myself, I'm like, what, am I actually helping or hurting the situation? Like, if I make 20 grand, but am I hurting or helping? So I keep on having this conversation with myself. And so right around 2 weeks before January 1st, 2014, I tell my boss, I'm like, you guys have been great. Like my company was very supportive at the time. Actually, most of the people are very, very supportive then and still, like everyone was kind of in it at the time. So I just retired, and I went back to Rutgers, and I was still very sick though. My body was very, I was still like about 150 pounds. Wow. I had not, I was very sick. And one of my friends told me to start doing yoga. So I started doing yoga, and I started doing it daily. And over the next 2 months, I gained close to 25 pounds. And my doctor said, hey, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. So I went from a regimen of 13 pills a day to 0 pills a day in about 6 months. Wow. And this is where my life went. So I started teaching. I started working with, working with mindfulness, and it led me to start this company, because for a while I wasn't sure what my purpose was. And I was told, well, maybe you should work with some kids. But then the business part of my mind said, hey, a lot of people could really, really benefit from this. And I saw the value of it, and it made me feel good. Mm-hmm. So I started calling up local schools. And in about 2 years, like my company, which I started, Hudsonseed, went from 1 school to 25 schools. So that's kind of where we are right now.
That's
And,
huge.
we supply yoga mindfulness programs to thousands of kids.
Yeah.
And like I said, I go to work doing what I love, and at the same time, and it's a very successful business at the same time. We serve low end, we serve high end. I do not believe that, I don't believe you don't have to, you can't do well and do good at the same time. I
Yeah.
think that's like a misnomer in our society, that,
Right.
that people like such as teachers and all that, I think that you can marry the two
Yeah.
if you do with purpose and with a good plan.
So let me ask you this, Trevor. You, first of all, again, amazing story, and what a great place that you're in, and you're now helping other people get it. There's a lot of people that are listening that have never done yoga. I've done it a little bit, enough so that I know some values of it, but I still haven't done it a lot. What did you get from yoga when you started doing it? It sounded like that kind of began the turnaround for your life.
Well,
What do you
it's
get from it?
it's sort of a reboot for my nervous system. Now, it's sort of also like a daily thing that you do that's healthy for yourself.
Mhm.
Like, my mom, she gardens and walks, but I consider herself a great yogi. Like, one of the things I respect about you, you were always in awesome physical shape. You had a routine, you had discipline. It's one of the reasons why we're talking today. And yoga doesn't have to be yoga. It could be CrossFit. It could be biking. It could be running. But it's a daily dedication over a long period of time with a purpose. Like, that actually is the true definition of yoga. Like, but we take it for the poses. But those three things, if you apply those three qualities to anything positive, technically that's yoga.
So say that again. It's daily dedication with a
Yes.
purpose. What was the other?
With sincerity
Mm-hmm.
over a long period of time.
Okay, got it.
Like, to something that serves, like, society or yourself.
Yeah, that's awesome. So how did you made the decision to get into helping kids through this? What was that? You said a friend suggested it to you. Where does the passion for that come in? Was there?
Oh, well, I was doing some corporate work, and I was working with some corporations, and it was fine, but someone said, "Hey, listen, you should go volunteer in the back of town with, like, some of these underprivileged kids." And I'm like, I don't want to work with kids. Are you kidding me? Like, what? And then all of a sudden, the other part of my brain goes, this is good. You should try this. And I went and I got the juice.
Yeah.
So like I said, the other day I'm walking out of my apartment, and schools have been shut down, so I've been working virtually. I see this pack of kids. I mean, I have classes from kids ages 3 to 18.
Wow.
And they're on this little duck walk where it's like they all have the little, the little circles, and they're like, there's a string of about 14 kids. They're following each other down the road, and all of a sudden I hear, "Mr. Trevor!" And these kids explode. And it was one of my schools.
Wow.
Now, I can't get that anywhere else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, just to know that these people have been affected, it was just, it was just tremendous. But I didn't know I'd like it until I did it.
Yeah, which is a lot of things. I think a lot of people realize that they're afraid to try something or do something because they think they won't like it. And for you, you found out you loved it once you got doing it.
Well, the thing about service too is, like, helping people is, for people like in the the Jack Welch business model of Neutron, like, everything's an Excel sheet. Everyone's a profit center. Like, it's like, if I do this and this and I don't get X out of it, like, some people put service in and they're like,
humans.
I didn't get anything out of it. There's nothing, like, I put A plus B, but there's no C.
Yeah.
And the C comes later, or it comes in ways that it doesn't seem directly related.
And that's,
but see, good companies work that way. You have your Apples and, like, serve, and even people like talk crap about Amazon. Amazon technically is a service company that provides services.
right. Exactly.
So you know what I mean? Like, so, like, if you're providing service to society and you're doing it in an efficient and good manner, the rewards will come. Just maybe not as fast as you'd like them to.
I'll tell you what, man, I could not agree more. And I think that in of itself, there's so many people out there that can provide so much value, and they look at it that way, whether it's companies or individuals, that, hey, I'm making an investment. If I don't get a return on this investment that's direct and it's quick and it's significant, I'm not going to do it. But, your realization and your point, which I, again, agree 100%, is you've got to provide the value. You got to make the impact. And over time, there's going to be rewards. You're going to get, number one, you're going to love what you're doing. You're making a true impact. And then over time, that's going to come back. And it may not be clear where it's coming back from or what, when, or what degree, but it does, is what you found out.
Well, it's funny. It's clear looking backwards now.
Yeah.
It's very clear because I see the favor I did for someone 2 years ago was the one who hooked me into a company here or something like that. A good story about that. So I was working for Head Start, which it serves like 8 million like underprivileged kids in America. And they asked me to do kids classes up in Bergen Line Avenue. So it's predominantly Hispanic. So it's like low income, whatever. So I went in to do some classes, and I went in, it was sweltering, 100 degrees August, went in class, they had one kid there. And they're like, oh, Mr. Vaughan, we're sorry. I'm like, I served one person, I served 1,000, it's the same. So then next week, 3 kids came. Next week, 5 kids came. Next week, 8 kids came. And they're like, and then it was a 4-week program. So I was like, okay, whatever. She recommended me to the city of Hoboken because she's like, this guy went in and did this for our kids. So now one of our clients is the whole city of Hoboken with a couple hundred kids.
Wow.
Now, if I had not stayed in the room with the 1 kid, the 3 children, the 5 children, and showed that tenacity, why would they recommend me for anything?
Exactly. That's such a great lesson. I love that. So I think back to what you're doing, I think is amazing because I think back when we were kids, like we never had anything like this. I mean, I didn't even know what yoga was, how to spell it. I mean, that was not anything, at least I had any kind of exposure till I was way out of school. And I'm like, wow, that makes so much sense. Like if we had gotten, I just think about it, if you and I and people in our age group had started and learned about and practiced mindfulness when we were kids, what would that have done? Like, think about that.
Yeah, like I said, it's not about yoga for me. Like I teach classes on Tuesday for this place called CrossFit Bison. It's one of my friends who I sat next to on the trading floor. He said, F it one day, I'm going to become, and now his box is #1 in America. So me and him work together, and I'm like, I said, hey, let me teach yoga and mindfulness to your box. And I'm like, I don't necessarily want to bring the yoga. I want to bring the mindfulness. And their classes, they love me because I'm not pushing yoga on them. I'm saying this mindfulness stuff is going to give you better personal times, help you with your WODs, workouts of the days. And like a lot of these CrossFit people, they practice every day. They're there at 5:30 in the morning. They practice with desire, devotion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's the same thing.
Right. So what are some of the things that you're talking to people and teaching them about now? I mean, you got, for those that might be watching this at a different time, we're in the middle of COVID and obviously some significant stresses and anxieties. What are you working with them on?
Well, I mean, just controlling your nervous system, like the breath. The breath is the king of the mind. Or you see, like, in my opinion, we won't get into it. True leaders have emotional one of my things for schools is emotional regulation, self-regulation. You know what I mean? So to be able to self-regulate, to be able to observe a situation instead of react, and being able to act and see a situation for what it is. Yeah. Also to know what you can control and what you can't control. Right. I mean, it seems simple, but I think of 85 to 90% of people out there have no idea what is in their locus of control and what is outside their locus of control.
And they worry about and focus on the things they have no control over or very little influence over even.
Now imagine, say you were, say you have a portfolio of like, say, 100 stocks. And so 85 of the stocks went down and 15 of the stocks went up. Would you pump all your money into the 15 stocks? Or would you just keep on pumping money into the 85%? Like, you'd be like, no, that's stupid. I'd put all my money in the 15. Whereas you have 85% of your life, you cannot control these factors. You could control 15%, but we're throwing money in at bad investments.
Right. That's a great way. So when you're talking, when you're working with kids, I mean, are kids quick to understand this? I mean, what's their
kids are not programmed negatively already. Kids are more enthusiastic. It's the same thing when I do for adults. But adults are like, I know that.
Yeah. Right.
I was one time I was doing a thing for a C-suite of a company, and I was talking to one of the people in the C-suite, and he had a lot of meetings to do. He was getting very frustrated. He goes, I don't have time to breathe. And I said, could you write that down for me? Just write that down. Thank you. I don't have time to breathe.
Right.
So tell me how you do in about 5 minutes after you stop breathing.
Yeah.
It's like
right.
the person whose ego is completely in control of the situation.
Yeah.
And the other part of their brain is shut down.
Well, I find the most successful people, the happiest people are the people that don't have it. Ego gets in the way. Ego gets in the way of growth. I mean, it's a horrible thing. There's a healthy component to ego, but then when you get past that, it becomes a major blockage, I think, to.
Oh yeah, as a yoga person, people think I don't like the ego. That's a misnomer too. The ego is I always say to my clients. I've done this with schools when I do development days. I'm like, say the ego is your bouncer, right? Mm-hmm. So the ego gets a lot of stuff done. You need a bouncer to keep you safe, to keep your business protected. But would you let your ego run the books?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Great point. Yeah.
So but no, you would not. So the ego is a tool of the mind. It's just another part of it. If you use it, getting stuff done, that's your ego. But you have to, give that. The ego has to not believe it's in charge.
Yeah.
You have to let your mind's in charge. The ego's not in charge.
So I want to go back to something you said a few minutes ago. You talked about the fact that kids are, they haven't learned negative thoughts yet. Oh, yeah. And so talk about that. That's interesting because you, as adults, I mean, everybody has negative thoughts and you have to learn how to convert those and change those. But talk about the kids and.
Hey guys, you want to breathe? Yeah. Does it feel good? Sure. They're just open to suggestion, and you could create patterns with them a lot easier. Mm-hmm. Because they haven't been taught the negative. We're working against a lot of negative patterns,
right?
All of us, they're just highly suggestible. I mean, to tell you the truth, that's it. I mean,
they don't have as much to unlearn. It's not like they're
that's it.
Enslaved.
Because we're arrogant when we get older.
Yeah,
it's we were afraid. It's a lot of it's fear based. A lot of our fears have built up because we'd rather deal with the comfort of our misery than trying something new.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you're absolutely right. You get just ingrained these habits, these ways of thinking, it just becomes you. With everything you've gone through and what you're doing now, how has that, let's talk about leadership. How has that made you a better leader? What have you taken out of that?
All right. Yeah. Because we were talking about this before. Now, I had this idea for this company a couple years ago. And my practice was sort of, it was steady, but it wasn't as tight. I was a little bit more what do they say? All hat, no horse,
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I decided I would hire some teachers, and I was just kind of administrating, and I realized it wasn't working at first. It was just a little bit, and then I realized I'm going to start meditating every morning. I'm going to practice every morning. And then I'm going to see what happens. I'm just going to do an experiment. And then all of a sudden, people see that you're doing it. You're more believable. You're just authentic.
Right.
I mean, people are watching you when you don't think they're watching you. Kids are watching you. People, if you're in an office and you're a leader and you're on the phone talking to somebody, there's someone looking at how's this guy acting? Mm-hmm. Why should I do what he or she is doing when they won't even practice it themselves?
Right.
But if you see the leader coming in at 6 a.m. or the leader taking out the garbage, oh wow, that leader just changed the garbage in the public kitchen, put it away. Mm-hmm. Oh, maybe I shouldn't be such a slob.
Right. People watch what you do. That's exactly right. Leaders always on stage, and there's nothing worse than somebody who's inauthentic, because you can't follow somebody who's inauthentic. Nobody wants to follow somebody who's inauthentic. But what you found is what I think a lot of people, they understand a concept. You talk about people that I think if you ask most people, if you had a morning routine, would it help produce a better day for you? I think most people would agree, yeah, okay, I would see it might even make just a 1%, it might be 50%, but it's going to make a difference. But how many people actually do it? Until you do it and practice it, you really, even though you believe in it, you understand it, you're really not believing it in until you do it, and you don't see the results until you do it.
Yeah, it's a comfort thing.
Yeah.
Comfort, people equate comfort with success. And that's a huge misnomer.
Right.
Like when I was in Wall Street, I had $1 million apartment. I sat there, I sat there with my vodka or whatever, but hey, I know what's going on. You can't tell me what to do. But, I was very comfortable. But like, was I successful? Was I happy in my life? And, even with business, so say I was achieving X or making X. Now that I look back on it, I could have been doing 10X.
Yeah.
If I had taken care of this guy.
Yeah. Do you feel like you got complacent?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And I was, I grew up poor. I was a hungry kid. So complacency can hit us all.
Yeah. So what would that, and we're jumping around a little bit, but I find that fascinating. Like here you were, you're in your 20s, you're crushing it, you're making tons of money, you're living in New York City, working on Wall Street, like the lifestyle that people see in movies. I mean, legitimately, we were talking about that earlier. But you felt like that trajectory was going to lead you to like not only not happiness, but it sounds like misery almost. Like you felt that was not going to be a fulfilling path for you. Yet that's the path that a lot of people kind of dream of in some cases.
Well,
right?
we're told it is, I mean, and also your friends will tell you like, when you quit, like when my friend quit his job to open a CrossFit, I was like, you are an idiot. You're making a couple $100,000 a year. You're going to be a sweaty CrossFit trainer. And then, and all this negative like you said, it's the barrel monkeys, The thing about it is if someone succeeds doing the thing that you're afraid to do, then you are exposed.
Right.
And I would say that's a lot of us, it's like, oh man, you mean I could have actually gotten out of this mess?
Yeah.
It's like, it's sabotage.
Yeah. Well, and again, you took the leap. You left something that, I mean, there's people that leave a career, but you left something that was producing a lot of money, but you felt like it was.
Well, I was lucky to almost, like I said, when people say like ending up in the ICU for most, like, they're like, that's awful. That's the best day of my life.
Yeah. Wow.
When I woke up. Because I was actually freed from the shackles of the old life. And I was like, I'm going to start this new. I got, all the people I used to talk to, I don't see anyone hanging out at the ICU with flower baskets or anything like that.
Yeah.
I decided, I'm just going to just redo this thing. And what's funny is a lot of the people that not everyone's, I got a lot of people came back into my life, but I got to reselect them.
Mm-hmm. And that's such a good point, right? You're choosing who you're going to surround yourself with, not just letting it happen, not letting it be an accident, right? You're being deliberate about it.
Yeah, I mean, if one thing I'd say for people, like, like it's hard to control like a lot of your habits, say waking up early, but we can definitely, like, if you editing our circle or adding a good person and just someone who just isn't giving you respect or time back, these are easy edits. Your life will change in 90 days. I mean, how about this? It's an experiment. I will refund you your misery if you try it and it doesn't work.
Right. I love that. Yeah. And there's a lot of people that are listening that are probably feeling stuck in a part of their life, or maybe their entire life. It might be their career, it might be a relationship, it might be, a way of life or a bad habit. What do you say to somebody like that is acknowledging that there's a fear, they don't want to change, or they don't, it's fearful for them to go to the unknown and make a drastic change in their life? Speaking as from somebody who did it, I mean, how do you coach somebody like that?
I would say just, like, pick something that you think would be almost like easy to do. Mm-hmm. You start building up little victories. So when I left Wall Street, I went back to Rutgers to graduate, and I got my degree. Now, do I need my degree? No, but it was that little piece of evidence to myself that I could do it. Right. So next time when I wanted to go into a teacher training, I'm like, I'm a 40-year-old dude doing yoga. I can barely touch my toes. I can't do that. Well, you just graduated from college at 40. Why don't you try this? Oh, I want to start a company. Well, you did that and that. But
Yeah.
like it first started with, I just chose a couple little habits, obviously one big habit, but I've seen people that are close to me. I say, what are you passionate about? Like volunteer or do something that you really like to do. And all of a sudden, suddenly things are changing for them. They don't know why though.
Yeah. Right. And, I think people make assumptions on what something's going to look like or another part of their life if they make a change. But in reality, I was talking about this with somebody the other day, is you don't know until you take a step. You don't know what the perspective is going to be and what things are going to look like. You didn't know until you resigned and actually committed to a new way of life and changed your lifestyle. You didn't know some of the things that probably now presented themselves as opportunities to you, right?
Well, you know what I just said? That's actually broke something in my mind, and I think this is going to be valuable. Well, say what I said something about, say, volunteering or doing something different. We undervalue our time spent doing what we want to do. So say if I'm volunteering or doing a new habit, so that's a time in the Excel spreadsheet, right? So all of a sudden, we've added something, we're doing something like maybe you didn't get an added value, you didn't get more dollars in your pocket or whatever. But like, so in your 24 hours, all of a sudden you've done something that you've changed your own life. You've empowered yourself. You've taken back a little of that powerlessness that you think you didn't have.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, like other things start changing because you've seen like, I didn't invest money or I didn't make money, but I was happier for an hour, like 3 more hours this week.
Yeah. Right.
And then also, but what happens in those 3 hours when you're happy? You weren't doing the stupid stuff that you would have been doing. We weren't like maybe watching TV for 3 hours.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right. It's amazing. I get a lot of questions also from people about, how do you build confidence or self-worth or self-esteem? And it's like, my answer is always, there's no magic switch. There's no, hey, one day I am and one day I'm not, one day I am. It's a process and a journey. And it's like, okay, just start with this, get this little victory. And then once you get that, then go for this one and then go for this one. And before you know it, you're making these big leaps and bounds, right?
Well, even in a Webster dictionary sense, self-esteem. How do you build self-esteem? Do esteemable acts.
Do what acts?
Esteemable.
Esteemable, yeah. Right.
That is the definition. You start doing esteemable acts, you will start getting self-esteem.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how it works.
Yeah. Wow. So let's go back to Hudsonseed, your company. So you have expanded this company. You're now working with 25 plus schools in the New York City area. Tell us a little bit about what you're now working on and what your next kind of phase is here.
Well, it was, obviously we've hit a little bump in the road that back, say, earlier in my life, I would have considered it very damaging. Well, I'm, a company that we're in schools. Obviously, since COVID, we've not been in schools, but we've moved our platform online. So we're doing more of hybrid programming. So, at first it was, it could have been taken as it's a change, it's a loss. But instead, we switched some of the things that we push. We do stuff on Zoom and other platforms. And, well, say I'm in the New York City metro area, that's because I can only have one body. Our teachers are only here. Well, I called the school system in San Francisco last week. That wasn't in my mind when I wasn't virtual.
Yeah, right.
So everything is an opportunity.
Yeah.
Until it's revealed to you, but it seemed like the end of the world. But instead of panicking and shutting down my own nervous system, like the creative part of my brain, I spent some time meditated, and then I realized, oh wow, where can this take us? And now it's, I'm in discussions with someone where I could bring it to a couple hundred schools now, because you can just stream it everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's interesting. I've seen, I work with and talk with tons of businesses, and I see some that are reaching the next level. Companies like yours where this has forced them to think out of the box and out of their comfort zone. And then I've got others that have gone almost out of business that I've seen, or that are going to, because they've been reluctant to. They just look at this pandemic as okay, and granted, there's a lot of horrible things that have come with it, but they look at it as okay, it's a defining moment and a statement for our company. We're just not going to be able to make it, and they, obviously that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. But talk to me about that. These kind of moments where you're forced into.
Well, like I said before, when I said when I first went back to Rutgers, when I started a training, when I said started coming. Now I have these moments. I have a pad of what have I done from the beginning. So I look back and like, oh, well, 2013, you were in a hospital bed and they said you had 6 months to live. Let's start from there.
Yeah.
So it could always be worse. I mean, life is good these days. Like we're still successful. My family's back, everything's like that. But you can't get worse than that.
Right.
And then, so that happened. And then all of a sudden, I actually had a company before this that actually didn't work out, but it led me to this company.
Mm-hmm.
But there's not really a defeat. You look at, you start doing these little esteemable acts or little things, and you look back on history and you're like, this is just one moment. I mean, without failure, like a person who hasn't failed hasn't lived at all. Like, I think my problem in my 20s was it became way too easy.
Right.
And so when I first saw signs of failure, I didn't know how to deal with it.
Is that right?
Yeah, I absolutely believe that. I mean, you talk to any great winner, failing is learning how to fail is probably the best thing that you can learn to do.
Right. Right. Exactly. I mean, there's tons of, I don't know a super successful individual or company that has not had massive failures in their life. But so you feel like that was that's an interesting point and concept, that you would have almost rather had some failures early on, because that would have strengthened you.
Well, what I think now is when something happens, I'm like, all right, what is this trying to teach me?
Yeah.
Like what happens is, it's sort of like, you see the cloud, you see this much, but you don't see the bigger picture.
Right.
And the bigger picture is revealed from you. Like, oh man, I didn't see, I didn't have 360 vision on this. And all of a sudden, oh, well, I'm going to use this thing to help me build this thing better now.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, think about a virus. Our antibodies, just in the human body. We get attacked, the body learns about the virus in order to protect it the next time.
Right.
I mean, it is natural for humans. I mean, it's just, it's part of our...
Think about everything, how muscles grow. You're breaking down the muscle, and then it's growing stronger.
It's as natural as what we practice till failure.
Right, exactly.
You've lifted weights. You know what about going to failure is?
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly right. So for that person that might be listening, because this is another part, category of person that is that 20-something-year-old version of you that's maybe in a phase of life they've had really great success and really no failures, major failures yet. How do they prepare, or what can they do?
Well, the thing is, who is hurt the most in failure? It's a rhetorical question. The ego is hurt.
Yeah.
The only person that's hurt in failure is the ego.
Right.
My mom will still love me. You know what I mean? Like I'm the one who's afraid to look stupid or fail. No one cares. Really, no one cares.
Right.
You care the most. You don't want to look stupid, or you as an I. Yeah. I care the most. You got to get over that. Once you can get over that, and you're not afraid to try something new and realize there's no physical, most of it is not even physical pain. It's all mental pain that you've done to yourself. Right. Exactly. I mean, the thing is, you have to until you feel it yourself, and then you realize, it isn't so bad, or this happened before to me 5 years ago, and I didn't die, and things got a lot better afterwards because I manned up and I dealt with it. Yeah. Well, it's funny. Somebody said something to me once that really stuck out, and it was so true, that
people spend so much time thinking about, okay, they want to do something or whatever it is, open up a business, start a podcast, whatever. They think so much about what other people are going to think and say.
Oh.
And somebody said something to me once. They're like, you know what? People don't really care about you that much. I mean, you're not that big of a deal where they're going to really be thinking, wow, what did John do that for? Whatever. It's like, and I'm like, yeah, it puts things in perspective, right? You're right. It is all the stuff that's in our own mind.
And what's funny is I tried a couple people like, and not only Wall Street friends, but some other people. Actually, some of my Wall Street friends are like rooting for my company so much right now. It's awesome. But I've had people like in my, when I was putting together this company, they're like, there's no way you could do that. You can't do that because of X, Y, Z. Well, and one day, I was believing it, and then I just started doing it, and I stopped believing it. And I'm like, how many billion-dollar companies do you own?
Right.
I literally said to my friend over, I'm like, you're telling me this is a dumb idea. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah. And what's the last idea you took a risk on? Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And, I was like, come on,
yeah.
You don't want to see me, I'm like, you don't want to see me do it because we're talking about it right now. No one's doing it.
Right. And success is about doing the things that other people aren't willing to do. You do everything that everybody's willing to do. You're not going to have massive success or happiness or carve out a unique life for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. So I know we're running a little short on time here. I got so many other things I want to ask you, but what's just a little bit more about the programs that you offer and what that looks like. So if there are schools out there that are listening right now, I mean, talk a little bit about what type of impact you make and what the program looks like a little bit.
Oh yeah, so we bring in mindfulness and yoga programs like during the curriculum and after school. Once a week. We're now, because of this technology, we're starting to expand our programs where we do like a once a week class, and it's reinforced through an app, or through online 4 times a week. You go to the gym 1 time a week, the gym's good for you. You start working out 5 days a week, the metrics go through the roof. I mean, just the children's happiness. Right now, like I say to my clients, I'm like, you don't have to believe my opinion about vanilla or chocolate. If I tell you an opinion, you can tell me to go shove it. Right now, all the science is out there. Mm-hmm. Happiness levels are up. Kids' detention levels go down. Their success in school goes up. I mean, it's the no-brainer of the no-brainer at this point. You know what I mean? It's just out there. Happier families. Just people. And and business people. I mean, like my big thing was if business people were to adopt a lot of these practices, your businesses would be better.
Yeah.
You'd attract better talent.
Right. You were telling me something last time we talked about one of the kids, or maybe it was one of the parents that said something about their kid. They're really displaying some kind of great coping mechanism or something.
Yeah. So I'm at a parent night. And, I do a lot of breathing with the kids, to tell them how to ease themselves. And, so I'm going through my shtick, what my programs are. And when we sell, a lot of times we get caught up in like what we think is good. And I always find that like it's best. So what I did was I opened it up to the parents, and we were talking about the breathing. And one parent goes, hey, the other day I was having an argument with my husband, and my kid goes, Mama, why don't you just take a breath? This is what we're learning. Mr. Trevor told us to take a breath. And then someone across the room said, hey, my kid said that to me too. Now, the school that I was in at the time, trying to convince them to do more programs at that point, I almost doubled the size of the company within like 2 months. Wow. Because the people there were telling the value. It was their story. It wasn't how me telling you, it's like me telling you how it's good for you. It's good to hear, like your best advertising will be your clients.
Oh, without a doubt. Well, I just think about those kids 5, 10, 15 years from now. Like, what is that going to do for them to have been taught by you, exposed to mindfulness and yoga? I mean, I wish I could rewind time and have done that in an early age. That's amazing. Yeah.
Well, John, I mean, I have to thank you so much, man. Like, this is a pleasure today. I think hopefully in the future we'll be working together on some other projects that we're talking about.
You got it.
And, it's a good afternoon, and thanks for having me.
I appreciate it, Trevor. Honestly, you've been a fantastic guest. If people want to get a hold of you or find out more about your company, where do they go?
Yeah, we have a website. It's www.hudsonseed.com. Hudson, like the river, seed, like the seed of a plant. Mm-hmm. We can hit me up there. And like I said, if you think that your children or your school system or even your company could use it, we'll come out and visit, and we'll implement some stuff and make the world a better place.
Awesome. Great stuff, my friend. Great reconnecting. Great having you on the show, and we'll have you back at some point, I'm sure.
All right, John. Peace.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining today. Be sure to be sure to add comments, your suggestions, share, subscribe, all that kind of good stuff. Hope you enjoyed today. We'll see you next time, everybody. Thanks.